Greetings from the frozen tundra, buddies. Hey, it's Concert Buddy. Just going to show some quick new hitters, new vinyl ads, records I've added in my collection recently. Some have been talked about on other channels, so I won't spend a ton of time on them, but I got some really cool stuff I'm about to show you. So cue that lever. Let's get into it. Man, shiver me timbers, buddies. It's getting colder and colder out there. I think this probably may be one of my last videos wearing just a straight up Concert Buddy uniform of just the black tee, because it's a cold morning in Missouri. It snowed a little bit overnight, blah blah blah. Anyway, so this video, I'm really excited to share some titles I picked up recently. Several of them have been talked about in the VC and gone deeper dives. Obviously this is just one person's review and perspective, so please take that going into it with a grain of salt. But the first record I'm going to talk about is a record that a lot of ballyhoo, is that a word? Ballyhoo in the VC, and that's this Steely Dan Can't Buy a Thrill UHQR release. This is from Acoustic Sounds, Chad Kassaman team. Admittedly, Steely Dan is not exactly an artist or band that is something that has a lot of personal investment with me. Obviously a staple of classic rock. I'm going to set this down right here. Staple of classic rock coming up. So I know a lot of the songs through osmosis, hearing them in the car with my parents, that sort of stuff. But I'm sure you've heard, or if you haven't, here you go. They're reissuing the Steely Dan catalog, not just with Acoustic Sounds and these UHQR releases, but they're doing them at the from a digital source. I think through Universal, I think is the label. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But anyway, long story short, there are videos out there. I think Safe and Sound, Texas Audio Excursion Dave, he did a really nice, I think it was like a 13-minute video reviewing this copy versus a 33 RPM copy that also got released at the same time. Michael 45 is another channel. He talks about this release. As somebody who went into this title not knowing a lot, and complete transparency, a big reason I did pick this up was I already have the other UHQRs that Acoustic Sounds has released, so it's, for me, it's a completionist thing. It's not a good thing. It's a first world situation, right? But more so, I do have a lot of trust in the curation of Chad and team. I know that this was, from the videos and everything I read, this is like a personal pet project for him. But, at this point, there's a lot of services and companies out there that offer curation when it comes to trust us and we'll provide stuff for you to listen to, like Vinyl Me Please. That's how I got started, Vinyl Me Please. Long story short, I do feel I've put some trust into Acoustic Sounds, and they've earned it because they make high quality product. This is no different. This is obviously cut at 45 RPM. Bernie Grudman did the mastering. It's on a Clarity vinyl. I think I even got a really low number. I think my number is 258. Not that I think that necessarily means anything, but lower numbers, I guess, are cooler or more unique for a collector perspective.
You're a lucky little boy, because you know why? You get to drink from the fire hose!
All that said, my impression is this sounds terrific. I believe it was Michael Fremer in his review on his website, Tracking Angle, or The Tracking Angle, talked about you got to turn it up just a touch and it just really unleashes the sound. And I found that true from my experience. Put it on, had my normal kind of levels on. It was just nice, but then once I kind of just gave it just that touch, chef's kiss, it's more vomit. Gave it just a little bit more oomph, and then it just kind of took off. Sounded great. Obviously, reeling in the years, all the songs kind of come up that then you're like, oh yeah, that's who Steely Dan is. And again, my wife was a bigger fan than I. We put this on and she really enjoyed it too. So anyway, happy to add this to my collection and looking forward to what else is coming down the pipe from Acoustic Sounds.
Back up into the ring in just a moment or two for more exciting fucking action.
So another record I picked up that's kind of making the rounds in the YouTube vinyl community review tank is this Alice Coltrane release. And I'm going to try, keep in mind guys, I'm a white guy from Missouri, so I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, but I believe it's called Ta the El Dowd. Now, tell me in the comments below if I completely just annihilated that, what the correct pronunciation is. I'm always looking to learn. That said, this is part of the recent reissue campaign. It's called Verve by Request. And there's several titles that are coming out. I think a James Brown title I've pre-ordered, a couple other ones that, based on my feedback here I'm about to share, kind of make me excited to listen to some of these records. Now, a little background. This is hard to collect OG, not this record, but in general, trying to track down a copy of this isn't very easy, so it is awesome that they're reissuing this. The reissuing campaign is being executed up at Third Man, up in Detroit, the pressing plant, which, you know, depending on who you ask, there's kind of mixed opinions on the output there. I personally have never really had anything negative to say about their output, but I will say upon opening, to get a record nowadays, especially anyone that's, you know, kind of advertised, particularly if you look at this, audiophile quality vinyl. I think when you advertise audiophile, even if it's just marketing jargon, when you open the record and it's in a paper sleeve, I think you've already kind of tripped yourself up, because paper sleeves at this point are a joke. And the fact that they would think it was a good idea to put an audiophile release in a paper sleeve, you kind of lose a little credibility.
A picture is worth 1,000 words. Unbelievable, yeah.
Anyway, all that said, my copy arrived, plays well, nice and flat, sounds terrific. I'm sure if you do or don't know, Alice Coltrane, a piano player, her range, obviously Coltrane, she was married to John Coltrane at the end of his life. I think he died in 1967 and they were still married, had kids, that kind of stuff. But a very influential and important artist when it comes to females making jazz or free jazz music, or even, I think she took some religious detour later in life and changed her sound and so forth. But I know that this is a very coveted record to pick up as it is, so very happy that this is part of the reissue campaign. Like I said, I've already got the James Brown title on pre-order, and based on how well this has been executed, I'm curious, I may try some of the other titles, but this, tremendous, really enjoy it.
Excellent!
All right, buddies, I'm bringing it home. This is the last record I'm going to talk about in this video, and there's good reason, because it's probably my favorite of the three I'm showing here. This is the classic Gil Scott-Heron recording, Pieces of a Man, early 70s. Obviously, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, probably the signature call out on this. It's very, very hard, similar to Alice Coltrane. There's actually more similarities to the Alice Coltrane release, but I'll get into that in a second. But just I like that release. Very hard to find originals or reissues of. I mean, you can find them, but the condition, if you think about a title like a similar era title like Maggot Brain by Funkadelic, also due for a 50th anniversary reissue, so fingers crossed there. But I digress. But a title like that, it's hard to find in really great condition here 50 years later, and this title's no different. So while my hunt continues, this is obviously a reissue. This is a nice placeholder for a couple of reasons. One, this is a all analog, or at least advertised, and the way it sounds, I have no reason to doubt that's not the case. This is a European import reissue, all AAA, 45 RPM, and 180 gram vinyl. So it checks all the boxes that you'd want in a great sounding audiophile type recording. You know, obviously the jacket's really nice. I kept mine in shrink, just, you know, for posterity's sake. Also be able to keep that hype sticker. But again, my familiarity with the artist is very limited. So I went into it obviously knowing The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And I gotta say, when I put it on the turntable, it just blew me away. A fantastic sounding record, flat as a pancake. If you follow me on Instagram, I took just a little video of it, because it's everything you would want in a high quality record. The way it sounds, performs, executes. I mean, just that's a real chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Marvelous release. But just like the Alice Coltrane record, I had no idea. Another common thread that they shared is that on both titles, the famed jazz bassist Ron Carter played on both. Had no idea. So a little bit more about Ron Carter. And I've heard the name, and again, if you watch my channel, you know I'm by no means a jazz expert. There are several other jazz channels out there. I'm actually going to set this down at 45 RPM. Wearing out my shoulders.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils?
On all seriousness, there's several other jazz channels that are far equipped and far better subject matter experts to talk about jazz in general. But my limited, dip my toe in the bathwater, my limited burgeoning collection, I've heard the name Ron Carter a lot, and for good reason. He holds the Guinness Book of World Records I guess, title for most recorded bass player, jazz bassist. Over 2,221 recordings he's contributed to, which is crazy. I mean, that is Rachel's Ghost level output if you think about her doing live streams every day. Love you, Rachel. All that said, an amazing output and a very diverse range of artists he's worked with. I mean, he broke in, I think, and again, I just did some research before the video because I was just like, wow, Ron Carter played on both. Very interesting. But started playing the cello as a youth and then moved up to, obviously, the standing bass, the jazz bass. He's got 3 Grammy Awards. Side note, he's still alive, which is even, I think he's 85, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of a tribute in and of itself. You think about a lot of the jazz musicians from back then who are no longer with us. So that's a terrific call out. There's even a documentary on PBS right now, if you could stream public broadcasting, called Finding the Right Note. It's something I've got in my queue to watch right now. All that said, if you want to learn more about him there, but just a couple quick hitters. He was part of the second Miles Davis quintet with like Wayne Shorter, Frank. Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, those guys. And, he's part of the recordings like My Funny Valentine or the 7 Steps in Heaven. So some really important jazz titles, particularly as part of Miles Davis's catalog. But that's not all. I mean, he's recorded with Billy Joel on the album The Bridge. And the one I found the most fascinating, at least to me, is kind of a hip-hop head, or aspiring hip-hop head. I'm going to set this down even further, is he recorded with A Tribe Called Quest on their classic album, The Low End Theory. And the story is really funny in that, Q-Tip is an admitted jazz head, reached out directly to Ron Carter, said, hey, we'd love you to record on this album. I don't know who you are. So he goes and asks one of his sons, hey, who is this? And the son's like, yeah, you should record with them. They're really group of today, really emerging talent, yada, yada. But his son also says, yeah, you got to be wary because some of the recordings, they do use profanity and that sort of stuff. So Ron Carter goes into it, makes the deal, how much he's going to get paid. He was very clear in the story. He was very clear on agreed about the money. And you could tell this is old school. He wanted to know exactly what was getting paid. And literally at the end of the recording session was handed a check. I mean, he just to the business. But anyway, he told him, sure, I'm happy to record with you, but if the recording session is not going the way I want it to, and there's profanity and so forth, I'm going to have a running car literally outside the building that I will pick up my gear and walk right to and won't think twice about it. Q-Tip's, no, man, no, we got you. And so fortunately, everything worked out. He didn't have to get in the running getaway car. He got literally handed the check old school way at the end of the session, which is fascinating. I mean, this is fascinating to me. But anyway, he contributed on the song Verses of the Abstract. So if you're into Tribe or you want to stream that one, just kind of see what I'm talking about, go for it. But really interesting life, and I'm glad that, again, through these 2 records, that kind of made me go on this deep dive. So hopefully you got some value on that.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
All that said, buddies, that's all I got. Trying to do a quick one. I think when this comes out, I'll probably be in Chicago at the Hillside Record Show. So I'll have some stuff coming out of there. Hopefully good stuff. Hopefully I've got arms crossed full of records to bring home and to talk about with you guys. But tell me what you think about these recordings. Did any of you guys pick up the Steely Dan, UHQR, that Alice Coltrane, or even that Gil Scott? By the way, the Gil Scott is selling out everywhere. So if you're trying to track one down, which I would highly recommend you do, reach out to me privately, Instagram @ConcertBuddy. I'm happy to put you in contact with a couple of shops that I use. I don't really advertise them much, so I can kind of keep them in my back pocket as a sweet hole or a honey hole, as I like to say. Good old American pickers, call out. Anyway, happy to put you in contact with that record because it is phenom.com. That said, buddies, thanks for watching. Appreciate you spending your time. And next time, or when you get the chance, just spin it. See you next time.
Well. How the turntables...
Well, we out of time.